So you just tell us what the latest, what the new edition's coming out today as we're, talking, and tell us what we can look forward to.
Yeah. Well, the Manchester cricket, it's funny. I'm exhausted, but I'm exhausted now anyway, but I'm exhausted at this time every Wednesday because the paper actually gets put to bed today. But the actual paper is dated on Friday. It's going to press. As a matter of fact, it's on the printer probably right now. And it gets delivered and out tomorrow morning at about 5:30 in the morning. So it goes out tomorrow. And it'll be on newsstands tomorrow. But I'm happy to share with you sort of what's going on this week.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Well, we have several stories. It's all, the update on COVID, especially for us in Manchester and Essex. We have 3 cases now that are official in Essex as of this morning. We've held fast since yesterday morning, and Manchester this week got its first case officially, and that was sort of announced on Monday. And there were a series since it's what a difference a week makes, huh? I mean, we were just talking. It seemed like we were just being told to wash our hands a week ago, and now it's like 10 people, and that's the standard, and everything has really changed. It's gotten very dramatic and very essential very quickly. But our town, we had an emergency meeting of our BOS in Manchester on Sunday. It was their first video conference public meeting, which was really interesting to sort of watch. Now all the towns are doing it. I think Essex for us was first. They started them, I believe, last week. They actually declared an emergency, state of emergency last week. Manchester followed, and they went virtual on Sunday. They closed all the beaches and parks on Sunday, which was a little bit of a small controversy, but it was needed because all our neighboring towns, Gloucester, Rockport, Essex, were shutting down their public spaces, and it was a beautiful day, and everyone started to flood towards Singing Beach. A lot of out-of-town people enjoying the beach. I actually happened to get some film of it on Saturday, and it wasn't as bad when I went down there, but apparently the parking lot was really packed all day. Sweeney Park was filled with kids playing basketball and having a good time outside. The problem was that with the density, suddenly it really spooked the BOS. And in particularly, and I don't know if you're hearing this, but the public safety folks, because the thinking was this, you sit there and say, hey, it's a public beach. We'll stay 6 feet away. We'll be compliant. What's the problem? Here's the problem. And once I heard it, I said, I get it. It was Todd Fitzgerald, our police chief, said, listen, we have a limited and small and tight public safety roster, right? Our police, we have our EMTs on the fire department. If we compromise those people now in trying to enforce compliance, what happens 2 weeks from now when we have a real public crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's your answer. There's your answer. I think Paul Francis said the same thing over in Essex. So that's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot different. Last week we were just talking about businesses and how they might suffer, but now it's really it's a real deal. Parks and playgrounds being closed down. So were people having a problem with this on Sunday?
No, I think people were out, and I think people were outside. It was beautiful, right? And I think it was kind of a blessing that Monday, Tuesday turned out to be not so nice days, and it became a little easier to transition into like being inside. So I think that's good. But I think the public parks, the trustees of reservation, Agassiz Rock, Coolidge Point for us, the trustees yesterday announced that they were going to kind of shut things down as well. And I think, in the paper this week, it's funny, on Sunday, we put out sort of a news story online and pushed it out about sort of the impending state of emergency and the fact that all the parks and the beaches were closed. It got a tremendous amount of traffic and coverage and attention, right? By Sunday, when they actually did do the emergency, the state of emergency, people were already there. They'd already factored it in. They were already changing. It didn't get nearly the same amount of kind of what I'd call the fervor, like the emotional bandwidth. And that was really interesting. And it's funny, in this week's edition, we have a lot of just really lovely articles that have been written by readers that have kind of are talking about sort of a little more just, I thought, real thoughtful pieces. Like somebody wrote a piece on how to organize your family photos at home, spending time at home. We had a great piece this week by Jess Jurwitz over in Essex. Her husband's an ER doctor at a major Boston hospital. And she wrote this essay on Sunday that was amazing that we put out about how her husband, she called her husband a superhero. My superhero needs a mask. And she talked about the fact that she had to shave her husband's head because there weren't enough masks and protective gear available. And she had to shave his head because it made it easier to disinfect in between patients because he had to wash down. And that got a tremendous amount of traffic too. But those kinds of pieces are a little more contemplative, a little more just personal.
That was beautifully written. And I have to say, I have a superhero in the other room who is a physician. And I told him about that. He's bald. And he was saying, yeah, I think I need to just wipe down my head. And I reported what she had said. And I said, yeah, you do have to do that. Yeah. So that was a great story. Just beautiful.
They got over 200 masks. So.
Oh, and because she added the tutorial on how to make masks too, right?
Exactly. So we have that in this week's paper, but we actually published it online on Sunday. So in the paper, we have the, the follow-up, Yeah. So it's just, people are really coming together, and I think that's really nice. I hope that's the way it's going to be now.
It's interesting because, oh, sorry, Heather. I was just saying because we've been so swamped the last 7 to 14 days as all this has happened that you almost forget that the general public are sitting on their hands or going stir crazy or dealing with kids and all that too. And like we're saying, it's more contemplative, more creative, and everyone's learning to deal in a different way. And it's one of the cool things that we're actually starting to see out of this now is, we saw people yesterday like making their own masks. They're setting goals. I want to do 50 masks today or 100 masks, and it's happening. It's pretty interesting to see.
It's one of the silver linings. I mean, it's not a good way to get it, but it is a silver lining. One thing, though, that's kind of funny that I noticed just this morning about, like, this is like reality in your house stuff. I went to get I have 2 teenage boys at home. I went to get their laundry. It's half the laundry that it normally is. I'm like, what happened?
No sport, right?
Are they changing clothes or not?
I promise. They're just not going out and doing sports and just coming in and throwing it up. And I went into my husband. I'm like, wow, kind of good.
Yeah. There's some silver linings in this. We keep finding them. We keep stumbling upon them. Yeah.
People will be fighting over the lawnmower soon.
It's the little things.
Little thing. So true.
So Eric, if people want to, I imagine there's probably a bump in readership or viewership for the paper. Now there seems to be for all media at this time. If people want to learn more about the cricket, how can they do that?
Oh, they can go to thecricket.com and start there. We definitely have had a massive surge in online in particular. We've actually got a lot. I got 5 new subscriptions in the last, since Friday, which, I was like, wow, great. People want the real paper too, which is weird. But they can just go to thecricket.com. We also have a newsletter that goes out once a week and summarizes it that way. I think that people definitely need media. They need local media, by the way. They need local relevant media that's practical. I don't necessarily think that people aren't coming to the Cricket, and I don't think they're coming to the Gloucester Times either for, the latest on COVID, the kind of thing they'd get on CNN. But what they really want to know is town meeting being delayed? By the way, in Essex, yes, it is. It's being delayed until June 15th. Those kinds of things are really critical, and people really need to know and they want to know. So there's a real demand for that. And I hope that kind of translates through this time period because it's really an invaluable service.
Agreed.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Well, you guys too. You guys are part of it too. And I think I was thinking about that this morning when I knew that you guys, we were going to talk. It's funny, 1623. I mean, I don't mean to, but 1623. We talked about this a little bit last time. You were already moving towards this kind of placing yourselves in the community, which I thought was so smart and interesting. And it has to do with, moving the studio downtown, but then also placing the interviews and the content on YouTube and social media outside of sort of the viewing channel, the lineup, right? And these conversations are a real natural, fantastic complement to exactly what you're doing. It's almost as if we're discovering things we should have been doing already, but now because of the circumstances, we're doing it. It's
Yeah.
I can see this outliving our quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't think of ourselves as journalists. You guys are the journalists, but we love having these conversations with people, and able to really feel like we're reaching the community. So yeah, that's good.
Well, Erika, let's check back soon and keep us updated on all things Manchester and Essex moving forward.
You got it.
We appreciate your time, and people can find the latest edition of the Manchester Cricket this Friday, right?
That's right. This Friday. Yep. On newsstands and at thecricket.com. Thank you.
Well,
Bye,
be
guys.
safe, Erika.
Be safe.
Right. Almost.
All righty. Oh, that's right. Love it.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.